Dennis Farr, they've been around for a wee while now.
Yes, Rob. The Foundation for Arable Research is the full name, of course. Basically since 1995, when we used to have the old MAF supporting farmers, and that was always a lovely gift, and farmers didn't really appreciate what they had. But when that was taken away and farmers had to say, well, okay, who's going to do the research for us now? Who's going to do the paying? A group of farmers was put together, and a chap by the name of Rab McDowell was the chairman of that group and the establishment committee, and he went on tour to the UK and Europe and looked at structures that could be useful for funding research, basically on behalf of farmers, based on a levy payment. And of course then comes along the Act and the levy orders, the commodity levy order, and so farmers had to vote on whether they're prepared to pay a levy to fund research, and they certainly voted in favour of the model that RAB brought back from Europe, and so Foundation for Arable Research was established, and very quickly the CEO Nick Pike was appointed, and that's quite a few years ago, and Nick is still there and doing a sterling job, and his management team and have gone right through to designing and managing trials, going through to technology transfer to farmers, major field days, and in fact other levy groups have looked at the performance of FAR and approached FAR and said, would you take over our levy funds and do the research for us? And I'm talking about Potatoes NZ approached FAR in 2014 and said, we like what you're doing, you've got the capabilities, we're not big enough to do it on our own, we think you can do it better for us, here's our growers, here's our levy funds, go to it, boys.
Good on you, because research is absolutely vital in your industry, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, Rob, and certainly FAR can pat themselves on the back for some of the things that they've brought to farmers, and the levy's going from 0.8 of 1% to 0.9, and for high value vegetable crops it's going from 0.5 to 0.6, and that's a low levy in any industry that is levied through this act, really, and we get really good value for it. The thing that's impacted FAR's income basically has been the reduction in crop values, barley, wheat, and etc., things like that. And of course, as a percentage, not a set figure, your income goes drastically down. So it's quite understandable why this should occur and how it occurs, and they can rest assured that FAR will look after that money well and will continue to deliver some of their special things that they have delivered.
They've been offshore. Didn't they go offshore?
Yes, they've gone to Australia, and that is I think the Kiwis were a wee bit suspicious of that, but that is a standalone business over there, and a lot of good things have actually come back from Australia, and things like the Production Wise program was brought back from Australia. That was based there, and it's been customised for New Zealand conditions. But there's things like the cereal and maize performance trials. They set that up, and so companies can independently use FAR to trial their cultivars. Farmers can go and see those cultivars and say, well, I like that one, or marketers can say, well, that's the one we want because of such and such, or the marketers can say to the breeders, breed us one that does this, and go from there, or import us one that's bred to do this for us. So it's a very happy collaboration between marketers, growers, researchers, everybody. And then we go on to the SCID system, which is for seed crops.
The SCID system.
Yeah, the SCID system, yes, it's seed crop isolation distances, basically.
Right.
Right, excellent. And so crops, high value vegetable crops, have to be grown away from other pollen contaminants, which are things like red beet and silver beet out there, and those pollens travel in the wind. So you've got to be set distances apart, usually about 3 to 4 k's, unless it's the same variety, and then you can share the pollen with your neighbour, which is sometimes quite useful. And then of course there's the crops that are the pollen is spread by bees, and of course it's a lazy bee that won't fly about 3 kilometres. So you really need to have that GPS system going, talk to your competitor companies, talk to your neighbour growers and say, what are you growing where. And so it's very quickly settling down to a situation where every year those same farmers will grow for the same companies, the same type, and often the same variety. So it's settling out, but Canterbury is almost fully allocated. There's hardly any spare places to grow any crops, and so farmers fiercely look after their patch and their variety and talk to their neighbours. We haven't had any range wars yet, but it's been it's been pretty close. It's been pretty close. But so that's just one thing that they developed, and that's a very sophisticated system.
They also do workshops and things.
Yes, workshops for all sorts of groups. They've got the Arable Ys, which is the Generation Y coming through, so that they're fostering the succession plan and the knowledge of the young people. And of course, they're all the ones that are full of the technology and latest and greatest, and that's great. We need them. Also, women in Arable, and of course, the wives and partners and even of the farm managers and workers and things like that play an integral part in the whole farming exercise, and so they're brought into the fold. That's fantastic. Taking care of business development workshops for farmers, which is all part of that. Really, it's pretty cheap learning, pretty cheap teaching.
I would say.
Absolutely. If you went to a tertiary institution, you'd be paying lots of money for what they do. Pea industry groups, grass crop research and extension, they've done fantastic jobs there. The uptake on plant growth regulators in terms of increasing grass seed yields, that's been phenomenal, probably close to 50% increase in grass seed yields with the use of that technology and that chemistry. Developing deterrent grasses, and they're things that they have high endophytes, and so the hot grasses, and if sheep eat them, well, they fall over with staggers very quickly. But they're planting them around places like the airports and things like that, where they get bird strikes, and even at Akaroa, where the geese come up and eat and foul the pastures on the domain there. These high endophyte grasses are very too hot for the birds to eat, and too hot for the insects to live on them. And so the insects that live on them attract the birds as the feeders. They're not eating the grass, although the swans do or the geese do. But certainly, so take away the insects and you take away the birds, that type of thing.
But they also do pests as well, things like velvet leaf.
Yes, well, in terms of coordination for the attack against things like velvet leaf, blackgrass, and the pea weevil, FAR's knowledge in assisting with that and the whole industry approach to that eradication in conjunction with biosecurity is vital. And they've done things like talk to ECAN about particles from stubble burn-offs and things like that, and applying the good honest research and then trying to help farmers with law development basically, and so they are really worth that 0.1 of a cent.
Very briefly, you could lose the lot if the vote doesn't go the right way.
Yes, and luckily the vote has gone well in their favour. It's been every 5 years they get a vote, and they're back there, and I'm telling you, vote positive.
Dennis, thank you very much indeed.